Yeah, the Noontime.
Sounds great, man. Yeah, sounds great.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Noontime Hang. I'm just trying to find myself, she said. I'm trying to find myself.
That could take a while.
I could. It's already taking a while. Um, first of all, I want to say that I used an incorrect picture for you guys. I don't know. I looked up charged particles, and on the website for Birds of a Feather, which you will be at May 13th. Yeah, I found this unusual picture, or I don't think it was you guys. Did you happen to see what I used?
I thought I was happy with it. I might be wrong.
I don't think it was. Let me just take a quick look because it's kind of weird. Let's see, charged particles. Okay. Well, is this your pianist as well? Let me see. Todd is not in it.
Oh, well, then that's a different one.
That picture right there.
Those are 3 out of the 4. You got 3 out of the 4 correct.
Okay. All right. Good. Then I don't feel so terrible then. I thought, wow. I don't know.
But
Anyway.
here, I'm going to share my screen for a second. I'm going to show people
Okay.
what you correctly put here on the website. So you've got, this is the Birds of a Feather page here.
I don't. Oh, there it is.
When
Yes.
we go down here we are right here.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
And then maybe, let's see, if we click on buy tickets, then we get the same correct picture.
All right.
And shall we read this text aloud reverently, or?
No, that's all right. This is an interview after all.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is entirely correct here for your listening public.
What a business guy, huh?
There we go.
I can see that already. Okay. Let's see. We did a special May 1st one because I'm going away and I wanted to squeeze these guys in before their gig, which again is May 13th, which is it is a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's at Birds of a Feather Jazz Lounge, downtown LA. And I guess, is this part of a tour? I forget.
It is part of a tour. We were asked to come to LA to play like 3 blocks away at one of the large hotels at a private conference the night after. And so we'll be busy over there playing for people other than folks who are residents in LA, I think, for the most part. And then we get to proceed that with a public evening with you.
Very nice. It's really cool. Yeah.
Sort of with you. Not really with you.
No, it's great though. Well, okay, so the first, I'm a very loose interviewer, okay? So we're going to go all over the place. I'm not going to get a list of your accomplishments, although you are free to share your accomplishments with me. But my first question is the name, Charged Particles, because, watching that video, it's very relatable. But I found myself wondering, so do they play slow and soft too?
Well, when the band was starting 32 years ago, I think, I had learned the lesson that band names matter. And there are bands like Weather Report where you would say, what's the logic of that? Who cares? They were so fabulous that you could have called them Chicken Feet and it would have worked.
Yeah.
But in our case, I had worked with a group that was launched 45 years ago called the Lunar Glee Club, which was not a glee club. It was a 9-piece Latin jazz group. And we did some gigs and people didn't come to the gigs a long time ago in little bars. And when we started asking around, we people said, "Well, we thought you were a glee club." We learned, don't as much as we were poetically talking about singing through our instruments, that it didn't really get across.
Right.
So when this band was getting named, we wanted to be careful and thoughtful about it, and tried a bunch of ideas on our own. This was long before AI would help us, and so we basically started to flip over my CDs in my CD collection and look at song titles, and start alphabetically starting at the A's and the B's, and eventually we got into Chick Corea's CDs, and there was a song called Charged Particles, and
Cool.
we thought, okay, how could we resist that? Because he was a really important figure for us and inspiration for us musically, but
Yeah.
also that, thinking of in its original form, three guys who were kind of electrified and bouncing off of each other seemed like a good metaphor. And eventually we found out where that song title came from. It came from the saxophonist Joe Farrell, who I'm sure you knew.
Yeah.
And apparently he would take his cigarette and tap the cigarette, and the little ashes would fall off the end, and he would say, "Charged particles." So at least that's the story Chick told. So
He could have done that. He
um,
was weird. He
that's,
was he was quite the character. Yeah.
at
Okay.
some point, Tom Breckline
Yeah.
told me, "No, that's not the right story. There's a different story. That's the right story." He declined to tell me that for
That's
some
funny.
reason. So when you interview him, you can ask him.
That's very funny. Um, wow. Haven't thought of Joe Farrell for a long time. But anyway, because, I came here to LA when I was 21. So I hung out in a lot of different jazz situations. And I worked at Dante's as a waitress. So, yeah, I saw a lot of different things. And Chick was really around during that time, playing, and it wasn't totally unheard of to go to Chick's studio and do something, and yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on back then.
And how would you describe that studio? Was it just another recording studio, or was it somehow
Not
special?
really, yeah. It was, first of all, the rooms were large, very large, and well, there was one room that had to have two grand pianos in it, right? They had both the Bosendorfer and the Steinway. And then the booth, the control booth was, I don't remember it being really large, but there was Bernie, yeah, Bernie Kirsch. And, he, in his time being an engineer, he did everything on tape. So even when it started changing over, he liked tape. So he was a really nice guy. But anyway, so the studio was really nice and large and comfortable, and it had those two great instruments in it, and lots more room for other instruments too. So it was nice. It was really nice.
Hmm. Okay, and I think I found a photo of the control room here, maybe. Let me see if I can share this. Does this look right? Looks very regal. Um,
In my mind, I remember it in my mind. Let's see if it looks the same.
is that it? I don't know if that is.
No, that is not it.
Okay. And was that it? No, that wasn't
Nope.
it. No.
No.
Okay.
No,
Interesting.
it wasn't like that. It was, there was a low couch in the back, and it was, just kind of your typical kind of hang
Mhm.
for the room. Yeah, no regalness, unless that was in a room that I never saw.
Mhm.
But I don't think so. I don't think Chick was into that,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
that whole building was his building with his business stuff in it too.
That room you showed, John, did kind of have that Mad Hazard look to it, though.
Yeah, it did. Like it should have been if it wasn't.
Did you do a search for the Mad Hatter?
I did. I looked to see if I could find. I mean, I know I remember seeing no pictures of it ever, and that's why I asked you about it. But I thought, well, sometimes stuff will show up. Like I'll tell you an interesting story. Lee
Okay.
Ritenour, uh, as maybe you guys know, lost his house in one of the
Yeah.
Malibu fires,
Right.
and he had a really gorgeous house, and there were just a few photographs of that house that were available online. And for some reason, I decided I was going to see if he sold it. I thought maybe the real estate websites would have more photos of it. And my God, he had a gorgeous house. There is a real estate site that's got, 25, 30 pictures of it. And so which I didn't know about. So it was kind of fun to see, although I don't know where he lives now, or, I hope he's having a good time.
Yeah, I haven't really seen him around. Yeah.
He's touring. He's been out of town a
Oh,
lot.
okay. Okay. I was just looking around on myself to see if I could see any pictures of his studio, but I don't know. Let's see. Chicoria Studio in LA, images. Let's see. Images. Well, was that it?
I
Or
think, I mean, it still exists, right? You can rent it, so you would think they'd have pictures online of it.
um, I don't even know because I never request going over there. But it was like the control room was just very natural, and then the room where you recorded was big. Maybe maybe it's not. Maybe it's changed. I don't know.
Sure.
Anyway, so you've been playing together for so long. So Todd, let me just ask you a few questions about each one of you. So Todd, let's start with you. Are you from San Francisco area?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. And so you came up playing because I mean you sound like you've been playing all your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started playing professionally fairly young and, 40, 50. I don't even remember when it was, 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, don't remind me. But, working whatever gig I could get, club gigs, business.
Yeah. Did you know you wanted to be a musician right from the beginning?
Well, I didn't get serious about being a professional musician until I was probably 17 or 18 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit later on than some people. Uh, yeah, so it just took what came. I was,
Did you go to college for
I
it?
I did. I only went to a community college, and studied privately with a few people. So
Well, that's kind of unusual actually for people I talk to. And so you obviously got a lot of experience playing and you did your homework.
I stole from the best, I guess. Uh, You were talking about the Japanese players copying, and it's like, well, yeah, it's what we do.
Well, definitely. I mean, we do copy it first, don't we?
Yeah.
Who were some of your idols, or were you always into jazz, or was it? I mean,
Well, before I got serious about music, I listened to pop music,
yeah,
Beatles and that kind of thing. But got into jazz like in my probably junior year of high school. I mean, I liked Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago and all that.
yeah,
The horn bands and all always kind of where I was attracted to.
yeah,
Uh, but I could John Coltrane and Cannonball Adderley and those kind of people were very early. And Wayne Shorter,
yeah,
early influences. And then people turned me on to Dave Liebman and Mike Brecker and Steve Grossman, and I was like that kind of turned my head. Some more Joe Farrell,
yeah,
Joe Henderson.
yeah,
And as the years have gone on, I continue to follow and study these guys and Dexter Gordon and Sonny Rollins and all the kind of masters I try to steal from, so that it is kind of an amalgamation of all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. When you steal from them, do you just immerse yourself in listening, or do you actually take licks?
well, some of them I did some transcriptions of. Some of them I just read through transcriptions, and some of it, 99% of it is listening.
Yeah,
And sometimes I will put on things and see what they're doing, try to emulate and copy what they're doing, but not literally all the time, like memorizing solos and that kind of thing. I've done actually very little of that.
yeah. And I'm assuming you play with more than charged particles, right?
Yeah, sure. Through the years, I've played with a number of different bands, and been a sideman for hotel gigs where we had acts coming in. I got to back a lot of people doing that, and corporate kind of gigs where you're doing casual shows and all.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of different.
Okay, Todd.
Not so much right now, though. I mean, things are, I'm older
Yeah.
now, so a lot of that stuff is going away.
Well, I think also that, for those of us who have been doing it all our life, and the older that we get, kind of the more particular we get, about what we want to do, you know, and it's just not the same as I was just talking about that last night, I think. You know, I don't have to take anything
Right.
anymore, and so I can be picky about what I want to do and, who I want to play with, you know. So it's good. I like it, you know.
Yeah, that's where you want to be, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
One of the many nice things about living long enough.
yeah. That's right. As Danny DeVito says, getting older is a gift. Sorry, he said that in Jumanji. Jumanji is like a movie I put on in the background a lot. Okay, I have to do this. Oh, Jumanji's on. That's good. Oh, here's the part where Danny DeVito says that. um, so, John, and it's interesting that you both have three-letter names. I just noticed that when I was like typing up your promo. It's like Todd with not two D's and John with one N and no
Yeah.
H.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
But
it's
these
just,
to write, I only have the capacity to write out. But
hey, okay. That's fine.
I have
Whatever,
the theory
whatever.
that I have the theory that people with unusual names have an easier time having career success. So if you were Cathy Segal or Cathy Garcia, you'd be Cathy Segal-Garcia. Nobody's going to forget that. So
I agree with you. And originally I was, of course, Cathy Segal from Boston. And but it always got stuck in my throat. Cathy Segal. It was like, and so when I met my husband, Garcia, Cathy Segal-Garcia, oh, that felt really good. And now I'm Cathy Segal-Garcia Hoffman, but that only certain friends call me that. They like list my whole name, but other than that.
yeah.
But I think so too. It's a name you're not going to forget. Bill Berry used to say it's the all-American name. Cathy Segal-Garcia. Sometimes I introduce myself like that. The all-American name.
Yeah. Yeah. But you didn't change it, and you're going through the same thing that we are, where once you have a name that's established, you're in it. You can't
Yeah,
you can't abandon it because of the reputation and continuity.
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And I was Cathy Segal-Garcia for 17 years, so it's a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you
And
still vote?
right now, right now I can. You never know what's coming. So, John, what about you? You're from that area as well?
No, I grew up outside of Philadelphia in Morrisville, Pennsylvania, and then in
Oh,
Princeton, New Jersey.
oh,
And so luckily for me, put me near New York and Philadelphia. And at that time in the 60s and 70s, the jazz scene and the classical scene were so amazing in that area. The Philadelphia Orchestra, the New York Philharmonic, the Metropolitan Opera, uh, New York, and Philadelphia had, even much more jazz then, of course, than it even has now. So it was a great place to grow up as a young musician.
cool. So, when did you start venturing out into those places?
Well, my mother was an opera singer, actually,
Oh,
it's a sort of semi-serious, semi-professional opera singer, and so it was absolutely indisputable that her children would become musically trained.
oh, uh-huh.
So my sister and I went to Interlochen in northern Michigan,
Oh,
the National Music Camp.
yeah.
I ended up going for 10 summers up there. That was my really serious musical
Wow.
training.
10?
8 weeks a summer. Have you ever been up to Interlochen?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's 10 years is like a long time.
yeah, yeah, huge fraction. So it's between
Yeah.
these two lakes. and like the boys all sleep in cabins on one side of the road and with their lake, and then the girls have a different lake over on the other side, and that's where all the performing facilities are and the rehearsing rooms and so on. And it's really wonderful that Interlochen is continuing today. A lot of wonderful people came through there, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
And for me, that it was just a really, really inspiring place to be a musician because you start off at 8 o'clock in the morning with rehearsal, and you're not done till 6 in the afternoon. And I did symphony orchestra, concert band, percussion ensemble, jazz ensemble, private lessons, and that it really cemented. There was no doubt I was going to be a musician.
yeah. How long did you say the program was during the summer?
8 weeks every summer.
8 weeks. Wow, that is some heavy duty deep dive. Yeah,
Yeah, it was, and long enough to be dating and having a social life and doing sports things, and so really nice summers.
yeah. So, what were your what? How old were you when you started?
Well, I started playing piano when I was 6, again, thanks to my mother. And at Interlochen, for the little kids, they had a thing called talent exploration, where you play a different instrument every day. So we played oboe one day, clarinet the next day, violin the next day, and eventually, when we got around to percussion, I said, "That's me." So I expanded beyond piano to that, and never turned back.
Yeah, yeah. So, so after, I guess there was a point where you said, "Okay, I don't have to go back anymore." And so, was that a point where you were old enough to now venture out into the city, New York and Philadelphia, or had you been venturing out?
Well, I certainly, in high school, I mean, I'd been going to lots of concerts in middle school and high school in those settings, and going to jazz clubs when I was in high school. And then when I went to college, I moved to Boston, and so the kind of the venue all changed there. And I had actually been much more active as a classical percussionist. I was doing, local area tours, playing with orchestras when I was in middle school, which would interfere with going to school during the day sometimes. But
Darn.
I studied during the school year with a guy named Danny Hinger, who was the timpanist with the Philadelphia Orchestra for a long time, and then became the timpanist with the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra in New York. So that was my classical training, and I was trained in jazz by a guy named Hy Frank, who my memory of him was that he was no taller than 4 feet tall. I'm sure he was taller than 4 feet, but he was just so inspiring. This little energetic guy, and just made students feel really empowered and praised and appreciated.
That's so
And
nice.
when I went to college, I did classical music as well as jazz in Boston. I actually ended up playing with the MIT Symphony. I was not going to school there, but they had a great orchestra that toured and made records, and so I became head of their percussion section. And
Oh,
it was I mean, you won't appreciate this as much as a vocalist since you carry your equipment with you all day, every day. But for percussionists, it really matters what instruments you're playing on. And when I joined that orchestra, I said to the management at the university, these are pretty terrible percussion instruments. And they said, "Oh, well, make a list of what we need." So I made like the dream list, and they said, "Okay, well, let's just buy it." So they bought everything. So
wow.
it was a fun
Oh
project.
man.
Uh,
They should have paid you for that.
well, I got the reward of playing on the instruments. Uh, but
What
then
year
when I
was
went,
that, John?
sorry.
What years were you there?
So I was in Boston from 1976 to 1981.
Okay. Were you going to Berkeley or
No, I was going to Harvard actually, and
did they have a music program? Harvard?
there is a music department, and it's
Now there
more,
is, right?
yeah.
Or
I mean,
yeah.
there have been very big name. VJ Iyer was on the faculty there for a
Yeah.
while.
I think
And
Luciano Souza has been working for them too.
oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right, cool. And yeah, so there is a bit of jazz there. There's much more serious sort of classical music scholarship in that department. It's not really a performance thing, but what I've learned. I'm on the faculty at Stanford now, and what I've learned is that places like Stanford and Harvard have huge numbers of students who take music very seriously in addition to whatever the other thing is that they do.
Oh,
And so the university really has an incentive to keep those folks happy and entertained, and that leads to performance groups. And there's great. I don't know if you would remember the name Herb Pomeroy, but Herb was yeah.
absolutely. I went to
Yeah.
Berkeley.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so Herb ran the big band at Harvard. I was in that group with
Oh,
him. in
Yeah,
addition to Berkeley. And he was also a really, as you know, wonderful, wonderful person, really
yep, really
nurturing,
great.
great educator. And
Yeah,
Harvard was lucky to be able to pull him away from Berkeley just for, for that ensemble work.
yeah, yeah.
And so, that was a great time before I moved to Ann Arbor for grad school and gave up classical percussion and became a full-time jazz player in addition to my academic work.
Ann Arbor, yeah. And then you moved to San Francisco at some
No, I
point.
went to move to Columbus in between, to Columbus, Ohio. I took a faculty job at Ohio State for 18 years before I
Oh,
moved to Stanford 25 years ago.
wow. Okay. 18 years, a long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a friend who's really like beautiful, beautiful sax player, Chuck Manning. And he's a scientist, and I forget where he works, but it's like one of the heavyweight places here. And he plays great jazz. So
Mhm.
it's kind of cool. Cool combination, yeah. So at this point, I mean, you guys as a group have traveled a lot, right? All over the world.
Yeah, this band has been to Canada and England and Sweden and Switzerland and Italy and Germany and Abu Dhabi and Indonesia. We've been really, really lucky. And we've done, I think it's about 39 or 40 out of the 50 states in the US at this point. There's actually a map
Wow.
that we made that shows the states we've been to. So,
Okay, now I don't know. I'm wondering. I'm guessing. Um, John feels like he's got kind of his thumb on like promotion and business, but do you have somebody who does that for you, or are you guys dig it up?
well, I mean, one answer to that question is that I do it. But another answer is that a wonderful woman named Charlene Dubin helps me. She's in Columbus, Ohio, actually, and does a significant amount of work to keep us floating. And but we have, other people have been consultants for us. I'm sure you know Gail Boyd. Gail
Yeah.
has been a really wonderful mentor for us and advisor for us.
Hmm.
And people like that, have been I think really critical. Another relationship that we have is with Don Lukoff, the publicist, and
Hmm.
Don has been a tremendous supporter of us. Bill Milkowski, the writer, has been an incredibly important supporter of ours. So, in terms of sending emails and making phone calls, that's Charlene and me. But
Yeah.
in terms of people who are thinking it through and guiding our strategy, there's a bigger family of people helping.
Oh, very, very nice. Yeah.
Maybe we
Um,
should tell people who Gail. Do you want to tell people who Gail is?
sure. I mean, Gail. I mean, I'll say what I know, and then you can fill in. But besides having her show Alternative Jazz on Facebook, which I tap into a lot. She's a manager. She's been a manager for a long, long time. One of her prime groups is John Clayton, and I interviewed her, but it was a long time ago, so I don't remember all the details. You can fill me in.
Yeah, that's about what I know. That she's been president of the Jazz Management Society. I'm getting that name wrong, but she's been a real leader as well as representing artists. And as soon as I learned about her, I just thought, boy, how could we not try to get her advice on how to bring the group to the next level?
Yeah,
And she's just really generous and nurturing and supportive.
yeah, yeah. Very nice person. Um, yeah. Let's see. I was well. Now might be a good moment to play one of the pieces that you sent. You
Mm.
sent me some. Is this a new record
It
or
will be
what's?
out in the fall.
Okay. Shall I just pick my own choice, or should I? What should I do?
Todd, you got a suggestion, or should Kathy just do it?
Yeah, you should welcome to pick any of them. Yeah.
Should we tell
Oh,
people before they hear it or after?
Oh, tell a little before.
Okay. So over the course of the band's history, over its 30 plus years, we have worked with a number of guest artists. And one of the longest stretches of time that we did was with the wonderful saxophonist, reed player, Paul McCandless. And I co-produced a record with Paul that was just released of his that maybe we'll get around to talking about later. And so we had a great time touring the world with him. And then we moved on to a new project with Todd where we wanted to celebrate the music of Mike Brecker. And that led to a record called Live at the Baked Potato, exclamation point, that was recorded at the famous Baked Potato in, what is it, Century City? No, in
Studio City.
Studio City.
Yeah.
And we were just amazed at the wonderful reception that that record got. And the piece that you played at the opening of the show is from that repertoire and on that record. And it was really just such a pleasant surprise for us to get that embrace. And as we were finalizing that record, I ended up getting in touch with Randy Brecker, and Randy said, "Oh, send me the tracks." So I sent him the tracks of that first record, and he said, "Wow, this is fabulous. I'm going to write a little blurb to go on the back of your jacket," which he did.
Cool.
And so that was a really nice moment to be celebrating his brother's music and to have him endorse it. And it did help a little bit. I'll tell your listeners from a kind of businessy point of view, because as you may know, to put out a CD like that where you're playing the repertoire of somebody, you need consent of his, since we lost Mike in 2007, of his estate, and that meant his former wife. So it helped that Randy was endorsing all this and facilitating it, and he said, "Let them do it," and she said, "Okay, we will let them do it." And so then some years later, I said, "Randy, we're touring this music. Well, how about joining us on the road?" And he said, "Okay, I will." So we've now sold out shows at Birdland and at Ronnie Scott's, and played at Birdland, at Blues Alley, and at Dazzle, and lots of places in the U.S., and did an extensive tour in the U.K. And last year we did a 10-day tour of the Bay Area and California. So we were in LA at Vibrato, and we were down at the Jazz Lounge in San Diego, and we were up in Seattle.
That must have been loud. The Jazz Lounge, for those of you who don't know, is very small, but it's cool. Leonard Patton's room. Yeah.
Very small, but it was great. And then we went up to Seattle to Demetrio's Jazz Alley, and ended up that tour at a place called the Bach Dancing and Dynamite Society in Half Moon Bay. And so that they have every Sunday, they have for decades had really wonderful jazz performances of major artists. And so they sponsored a sold out show for us there. And we did this, we'll make a recording, no particular intent to do anything with it. But then once we listened to it, we thought, okay, this is actually releasable. So you have the tracks, and this will be the first time anybody will hear these mixes outside our little family.
Well, that is interesting. Okay, so I have El Nino, Loose Threads, Madame Toulouse, Madame, Triple Play, When Can I Kiss You Again, Midnight Voyage, and Pilgrimage. So I'm not sure I recognize any of the names, and I am a Michael Brecker fan, but maybe Madame Toulouse. I don't know.
Loose Threads is fun. Those are off of Mike's final release.
Okay. Let me see. I think I have to open View File. Okay. I think I can play it. Okay. I'm just going to play it. Okay. We're still going to be on camera. Great.
Thank you.
It was meant to fool you, and it did.
It was meant to fool. How do you mean that?
Well, just because of the pauses, right? You never quite know. Is the tune done? Is the tune not done?
Oh, I see. That was an old weather report trick, right?
Okay.
That used to crack me up. It was like, oh my God, that spot. It was like, oh, and then da 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 da. Oh, it was really great. Who does the arranging? Do you all do the arranging?
I think I did most of the arranging, but it was really
Kind of a joint.
well. I mean, I really copied what the original arrangements were, and then tried to adapt them to the format with Randy. Most of these things were done as a quartet, or a quintet with guitar, no trumpet. So it was just a matter really of adapting most of the things to trumpet rather than guitar.
Yeah.
This new record is so just like the first record. This one is all Mike Brecker related tunes. Some of them are by Joey Calderazzo, his longtime pianist.
Oh.
But
But they were from his recordings.
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So this is still inspired that way.
Yeah.
And as Todd said, this is the first time that music has been heard with trumpet at all. So that's a privilege for us. And Todd is
Yeah.
certainly 100% responsible for the trumpet orchestration of it. But the rest of it was, we think of it as we're kind of a repertory organization like the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra was to start with, keeping Ellington alive, that we're keeping Mike Brecker alive musically by being
Yeah.
faithful.
Yeah. What's the record called?
We don't know the new record, do we? Do we? Do we know? I don't know.
Not sure.
Live at the Bach, maybe? What do you think? What should we call it, Kathy? I don't think we
I like
know.
Live at the Bach is nice. It has an appeal, I think. I always wonder about that. Should I call it one of the names of the songs? Of course, that's kind of the standard. I do have a live at the Blue Whale for a record of mine, but I probably, and then some of them just kind of relate to what it is, but a lot of them, my own, have names from the songs, but also it reflects the feeling too, right? Like I have a record called Dreamsville, which is one of the songs, but it is kind of a dreamy record. So, yeah, I don't know. What are do you have choices?
I think for some reason we're like focused on record labels at the moment, so I hadn't even thought about it. A title. I'm glad you're inspiring us to think about that. What do you think, Todd?
I haven't thought about it. I forgot all about it. Yeah.
But we're not going to call it Pilgrimage because Mike called his record Pilgrimage.
Right. I'll have to start thinking about that.
Joyce, do you have any suggestions? Joyce Glasgow, she's a big jazz fan, artist herself, and she's from Seattle. She loves the sound of your band. It's a great band, Joyce. I don't know if you just got here, but very interesting background. So what are the names of your other players?
Well, Murray Lowe was playing piano on both of the recordings that you've played. And Murray is a lifelong Bay Area guy who is, he's one of these guys. I don't know if you probably, when I say this, you're going to think of people in the LA scene who's like this. But he's just a kind of journeyman player who's been in lots of bands. And whatever gigs he shows up to, there are people who are thrilled to see him personally, even if he's not the headliner. He just has fans everywhere. And
it's a great player.
He's got such a kind of warm, embracing personality that he's just got this kind of legion of fans. And I don't know if you've been yet to see the SF Jazz building in San Francisco. Have you seen this yet? No. Okay. So SF Jazz is very unique. I mean, it's a presenting organization that I think is putting on concerts, 300 nights a year, maybe, or more. And back in the old days, they were putting on presentations in various different venues all around the city, and eventually decided they would try to create their own building. And so they got an endowment, and built a really amazing building that has two theaters in it. It's got the large minor auditorium, and it's got the Joe Henderson Lab, it's called, which is more like a club. And the amazing thing about it is the building is almost entirely glass. And you would think, how do you have a concert hall with glass? Because isn't
Yeah.
noise going to be a problem? But they found, somebody decided it had to be glass, and then somebody found glass makers in China who could make soundproof glass. So
Oh,
you can literally, in the Joe Henderson lab has glass on two sides with the stage right in front of this glass corner. And you could be on the sidewalk, literally sort of 6 or 7 feet from the drummer, and you would be watching the band play, and you heard nothing,
wow.
absolutely nothing.
Wow.
And so it's a wonderful building, and as on the wall there, on the glass facing the street, they very wisely decided that they wanted to celebrate the artists who made the Bay Area jazz scene what it is. And as you know, so many great people have come through San Francisco and remain in San Francisco, but many, many have left San Francisco and perform elsewhere, based elsewhere, all over the world. And what they did was to put on the wall, on this glass, etched the names of many of the most important players on that scene. And Murray's name is etched there.
Wow.
And I'm actually looking
Oh,
to see if I can find
that's
a
so
picture of
cool.
that for you. Yeah, it's
I know his name. He's a fabulous player. Wow, he has it all. He's totally swinging, and he his concepts are beautiful, fluid. Yeah, he's really a great player.
For sure.
all right. If you look at this closely, this picture I'm going to share, it's a little hard to see, but right here is his name.
Oh, wow, he must have been very honored,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ricky Lee Jones, Stanley Clark, Pat Martino, Bonnie Raitt,
Mm.
Murray Lowe, Kenny
Yeah.
Wheeler.
Cool. Very nice.
Fun.
Very nice. Yeah.
So
And the
that's
bass
Murray.
player, the bass player looks kind of young. I mean, I know he's aged from the earlier picture, but he still is maybe the youngest guy in the band or something.
That is true, and he would love that you pointed that out. Um, uh, it's this is I'm going to show you what he looked like when he was younger, um, and his name is Aaron Germain, and he's from Massachusetts
Oh,
as well. So that was an early photo.
yeah.
These are some of his records and some of the blurbs about him,
Uh-huh.
and uh,
Oh, nice,
that's what he
nice.
looks like in the in-between period.
Mm-hmm.
That was the early period. That was the middle period. And that's maybe a little more now.
Yep, you could see the graying temples.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
And he's playing a six-string bass, right? Is that
Six
correct?
string and upright, exactly. Yeah, we're lucky to have him joining us in LA.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so unfortunate that I won't be around for that. But my partner, Sidney Jacobs, he's a great singer, a great person, and he'll be very excited to host you guys. It's going to be great. Um, yeah. So, oh, let's see. Also, so do you have compositions that you play as well, or are you basically a what did you call it? A
Repertoire.
Repertory or organization.
repertoire?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no. Well, this Brecker thing that we did that really kind of opened us up was meant to celebrate Mike. And honestly, we didn't think this was gonna go anywhere. We just
Oh,
thought,
really?
the Mike music is difficult. It doesn't get played much live. There's so many people who just love it, and
Yeah.
we thought just for the fun of it, we would approach Todd and see if he wanted to do it. And luckily, Mike was a huge inspiration for Todd from early on in his career, as you heard, and just was the perfect match for us. And we then, made this recording at the Baked Potato, just not really intending to release it. And that is when it sounded decent and then was received well. that kind of got us in a commitment to do more of that music. And when we brought Randy in, great.
Yeah.
But actually, we're not. This band does much more than that. And in fact, in LA at Birds of the Feather, we will do a little bit of Brecker music, but we won't do an entire show of the Brecker music. We'll do lots of other stuff. And so each of us in the band compose. And so we have original music by the guys in the band, but we also play some of our favorites by other people.
Yeah.
Some of it is again in the spirit of keeping music alive. So Lyle Mays is an example who, again, we lost some years ago, but was such an amazing under-recorded voice in a way. I mean, of course, he's on a zillion bootlegs and records with Pat
Yeah.
Metheny, but he, as a solo artist, he wrote really wonderful stuff, and we're
Yes.
keeping some of that music alive in our repertoire. And another guy whose music we're gonna actually introduce soon is the great saxophonist Brandon Fields, who is in LA.
Oh,
And Brandon played with us at Vibrato when we were there the last time. And so we now have this kind of connection to him. So we're going to be doing some of his stuff. And
oh, that's unusual to hear. Do you happen to know Bill Yeager?
maybe not.
So Bill Yeager, I interviewed him a few weeks ago. He is a big band leader, and he's just retiring from San Diego State.
Mm.
And after it's either 40 or 50 years. Can you imagine? And anyway, he's got a great big band, and he is a trombone player, and he played with a lot of the heavyweight big bands, like the real great jazz big bands. And let's see, I'm trying to remember. He has charts. I can't quite remember. Anyway, he's a guy who and he's donated a lot of these charts to the university, but he gets these charts that are not played anywhere. They've never been released. He gets permission. He plays them. They're a fantastic band. And he went to college with Lyle Mays. So he and Lyle actually did a lot of work together. And because of that, he got permission to get a bunch of Lyle's tunes that have never been released. And so he, in fact, just a few weeks or right after I interviewed him, he was doing a concert featuring these songs that have never, ever been heard. So you might, I don't know, connect with him or something because
I will.
it's interesting,
I
Yeah.
will. Actually, you've now reminded me. I think I did talk to him because when we were planning our tour with Randy that took us to San Diego, the San Diego scene is a little funny because there are big theaters that host super big name jazz folks, but the club scene is not quite as great as it used to be.
Yeah.
And so I was a little mystified about what was the right place. I mean, we weren't going to do a big theater with Randy, but where was the right venue to bring him down there? And so I reached out to Bill, and he recommended Leonard, and that's what took us to the Jazz Lounge.
That's kind of surprising.
Okay,
I mean, don't you think? Because it's so small.
It is, but I think he kind of said it may be the best.
It's known.
Yeah. And it turns out it was just such a treat because Leonard, Leonard, he's such a charming guy.
He's really
and is really dedicated to making that work. And the space that we played in, he literally had just renovated it and was expanding it. So he had gotten the space next door.
Yeah.
And so he was working in there to make it ready so that they could take the wall out and then they would be twice as big, but it wasn't ready yet. So we were only in this half of it. And the half, I mean, it turns out when I said Randy Brecker, he just melted. I mean, Randy was a huge influence for him and favorite from when he was really young. And he just thought, oh my God, I would stand on my head for days in order to get Randy Brecker to come to my club. So Bill was right. It was a good recommendation, actually.
That's great. Well, you must have sold it out, I'm sure.
We did.
Yeah.
It was expensive too to make it work.
Yeah, I can imagine. I sang there with Leonard. We did some show dedicated to the Gershwins or something. Um, anyway, it was pretty cool. That it was fun, but yeah. Just so you know, Michael Brecker, a favorite of mine.
Mm.
I know a lot of his material but I don't know what you just played. But I do know a lot of Michael Brecker stuff because when I was at Berkeley, it was 72 to 75. It was smack in the middle of, the new wave of jazz coming up. ECM was kind of new.
Lost Green, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Weather Report and Bob Moses. He
Yeah.
was a Boston guy, and that I had come up on straight ahead music from my dad, who was a sax player, and I was that's where I was coming from. And then, of course, in high school, I went through the Woodstock whole era, and Motown was happening, and Boston was just full of great stuff, blues. But then when I got to college and when I heard Weather Report and Bob Moses, my brain exploded, And then there was Michael Brecker and all those people, Jocko and on and on. So, yeah, that's a really fabulous part of my memories. As a matter of fact, there was several pieces of music that I wrote lyrics to at that time, which one was a Pat Metheny song, which he approved and co-publishes with me. It's called "In Her Family." I don't know if you guys know that song. It's a really beautiful. It's from Circle Song, and yeah, and then a John Abercrombie song, which I have recorded once or twice, I think, called "Hippolytville," and as a matter of fact, one of the records I made was in England, and I got Norma Winstone to sing with me on it. And, she's like the sweetheart of jazz in the UK. And what was funny about it was that she had done a gig across the hall from John Abercrombie, and he played that song every night, and she fell in love with it. She had never gotten to the point of writing lyrics, which she does for that song. So when she heard it, she was like, oh my God, this is great. I love this, Very cool Abercrombie song. Very, very cool. But yeah, so Michael Brecker, I love Michael Brecker. That's why I love John Scofield too, because from that period, And
Yeah.
yeah, really
So
great.
you were in the world that I was in too.
Yeah,
Just starting a couple of years later. So you must have gone to hear music at the Jazz Workshop and Paul's Mall in Boston regularly, and Riles in
absolutely.
Somerville, and there's
Yeah,
like all those places are gone.
I know. Actually, the first gig that I went to see on my own, desire, I had to go with my sister because I wasn't old enough, but I went to the Jazz Workshop and I heard the Modern Jazz Quartet. And remember that room was very small, right?
Yeah.
And so we were sitting in the front row, and I was that night really changed my life because the quality of the music was so high, and they were dressed beautifully, and they had this obvious respect for each other, and that just I mean, I'm getting chills thinking of it because that's part of why I got into jazz or music or something. It was that resonance that was created that I desired over and over and over again. I guess that's why we do it, right? However you describe it, you want that. You want that feeling, and then you get it, and then you work your ass off, in between. And you might have a, horrible casual or something like that, right? But then the next day, for an audience of 3, you get that resonance again, and it's like, oh yeah, I got to do this again, right?
Yeah, I mean, the reason we put up with the not so fun parts of all of it is because of the occasionally those dopamine rushes we get from the high points.
Speaking of that, let's ask both of you, what was one or two dopamine moments for you guys playing?
Oh boy. Okay, Todd, go ahead.
with charged particles.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, well, they're all great. I mean, Ronnie Scott's with Randy was a great moment, and some of the gigs in England, where we got really great audience responses, were really satisfying. But
Yeah,
a lot of them have been great.
yeah, yeah,
Pop Dancing and Dynamite was great. We had a great audience there.
yeah. Sounded exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, John?
Well, it is true that you go through life going to hear musicians at Ronnie Scott's or to hear musicians at Birdland, and to know that that's the pinnacle of the club scene worldwide, and yet to find yourself on the stage there with a crowd screaming on their feet, demanding that we play encores. I mean, just such a treat, and you want to kind of like take a mental picture and keep that forever because you may never have an experience like that again.
Yeah.
So that's certainly true. But I will never forget also a very early experience that I had with at Interlaken with the Stan Kenton Orchestra. That Interlaken had been very conservative, very committed to classical music for a very long time. And a wonderful guy named Dave Sporney, who has been on the faculty at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, trombonist and jazz educator. He convinced them that to break the barrier and to bring jazz in. And my sense is that the only way they could do it was to bring in some group that had the word orchestra in the name of it. And so the Stan Kenton Orchestra ended up being what they brought in. And it turns out in 1972 that concert was Peter Erskine's inaugural performance
Oh, first one.
with that
Yeah.
band. I mean, he had
Yeah.
done a few tunes at Carnegie Hall with Anita O'Day previously, but this was the first time he was really in the band as the drummer. And I was
Yeah.
there. And I just listened to all this and I listened to his drumming, and it was revolutionary for me. And
Yeah.
so I kind of imprinted on him and I imprinted on that orchestra. And I can still listen to recordings of that orchestra now, recorded live in the 70s and with Peter, and it's as if no time has passed. It doesn't sound old to me. It doesn't sound tired. It sounded really powerful at that time. And I think for anybody who hasn't listened to that stuff, the hard part is that there aren't that many live records. You have to listen to bootleg things to hear
Yeah.
what it was like. But okay, fine. Let me see if I can show you. I'm going to show you a picture. Give me 1 second to grab this.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna tell you a Erskine story.
Good.
I interviewed him. He told me the funniest story. So when he got into Weather Report, he was very young. He might have been 21, and he'd just come from Stan Kenton. And of course, the style of that kind of jazz is you duplicate what another chordal, percussive rhythmic person does, right?
Yeah.
So so he and Zawinul are standing around and listening to a live recording of one of the songs, and he heard himself do one of those things, and he was like, yeah. And Zawinul said, "Too bad you had to do that." And then, of course, he never did that again. So I thought that was a great story.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard to resist, right? When somebody does something interesting while you're playing, it's so hard to resist kind of saying, I heard that.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I had that experience recently, that working with the other group that I work with, the Latin jazz group that I mentioned, when they changed their name. They are no longer the Lunar Glee
Who are
Club.
they now?
They are now the Lunar Octet, even though there are 9 guys in the band.
Oh, okay.
Endless problems. But at a concert we did in Sonoma, California last summer, I will never forget this. That some soloist, maybe it was Todd actually, who was sitting in with the group at the time, played some fun thing at the end of a solo, and I imitated it as a fill. I echoed it.
Yeah.
Going into when I just looked up and a whole bunch of people were smiling in the band at that moment, like they noticed that I did it.
Yeah.
And it was a way of saying to the person who played it the first time, nicely done, charming.
Well, it's kind of, to me, it's how you play it, right? Like last night, I had a really beautiful duo gig, myself and two of my friends who are excellent singers sang with this gorgeous piano player, Matt Politano. And Matt will do that, but what he does around it and for after it is not in a box, you know. And but of course, when I heard Weather Report, and when I heard Weather Report, my brain exploded because, and I try and explain this to singers so that they don't get, fearfully locked into, do. Like I say, here's the time, and we each have an elastic band from it. So, but one end of all our bands is tied into the song and the time. So that is always happening, but we can do whatever we want. And that was what Weather Report did, right? They each had their own elastic band. They were playing through the song, and that just, oh God, that is just such a gorgeous thing for me personally,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to show you a couple photos just for the fun of it,
Okay.
since we've been talking about this. So the first one I'm going to show you is Peter Erskine at that 1972 gig, when he was looking youthful.
Like a
Uh,
baby.
well, let's see if you think he looks like a baby.
Oh God, look at him. How cute. That was cute.
I think I can make it a little bigger. Yeah. So,
Very
um,
cute. I wouldn't have recognized him if I just saw that.
yeah, yeah. And then the next phase of his career was this one. I'm going to show you. Let's see here. If I can do this, new share. This was
By the
him.
way, he has pretty silly jokes. He has like kid jokes.
Uh-huh. So that was
That
him
was a little bit more like him, yeah.
with Maynard Ferguson, in between, prior to the Weather Report thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, for some reason, I can't find the electronic one, so I'm going to show you this. I'm going to hold it up. So that's him at Interlaken doing a
Oh,
workshop.
oh,
So that's
yeah, that's cool.
this is John Worcester, the bassist,
Uh-huh.
and that's Stan and a bunch of the students. And here's another picture from behind. So that's John, and that's Peter. And if you look
Wait,
up
that's John who?
John Worcester, Worcester.
I don't think I know him.
Yeah, he was really in Kenton's band his whole career.
Oh, uh-huh.
Um, and he ended up being Peter's brother-in-law because he married
Oh,
Peter's sister.
oh.
Um, and John's not alive anymore. But if you look over here, I'm over there.
I don't think I can see you, but okay, I believe you.
I was very young.
Okay, there you are. Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, that was an important moment.
That's great. Yeah,
What,
I
what
know
was
that
it?
question.
What was a dopamine moment for you?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Well, I mean, what I'm actually describing, like just, I think perspectives is definitely full of dopamine moments for me when I had mind blowing, realizations, all, music and otherwise. But there was one really, really beautiful concert that I did with a longtime partner of mine, a pianist who lives in Japan named Philip Strange, who plays kind of like Keith, and we were on the road together for 20 years. And this one concert in I went out of my brain. It's the Northern Island. I forget the name of it. But anyway, it was a hall that held a few thousand people, and it was really beautifully designed. The stage was kind of out into the crowd, and the lighting was kind of from down, not this forward kind of thing. It was gorgeous, and we did the whole concert. There wasn't a sound while we were playing, and that it was really a beautiful, beautiful moment. And I mean, if I could have a moment like that again, that would be spectacular. Nowadays, I seem to have more intimate type of situations, even in Japan, just like the intimate clubs with the intimate audiences, and and for me, it's like just making music with the great musicians, and that's that's what's enjoyable now, right?
Yeah. Well, it brings to mind a joke that Peter often told. You may have heard this, in fact, where he said, he had gone to the Stan Kenton summer camps for many years, but when he was really tiny, in order to kind of prepare the pathway to join that orchestra. And so Stan had him on tour, and they'd done a series of gigs, and at some point they were on an elevator at a hotel together, and Stan said, Peter, I guess maybe we need to talk about money because we haven't talked about money yet. And so Peter said, yeah, so how much do I need to pay you? Uh, because I mean, like, what profession? I don't think plumbers and bricklayers would pay to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I think musicians end up not getting as much money as we deserve because we love what we do so much. It's so inspiring that it's almost like we would pay to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah. Do you guys teach as well?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, and you're at Stanford too.
yeah, I don't teach music at Stanford, but I do
Oh,
teach.
what do you teach?
So my PhD is in social psychology, actually, and at Stanford, I'm on the faculty in psychology and political science and communication and environmental social science. So I'm really a social scientist. I do survey research and statistics and try to make the world a better place.
Holy moly! I had no idea. Wow, Todd, how are you gonna beat that man?
Uh, can't compete. Yeah.
No, I mean, Todd is one of the great treats of my life. I will always say when I have like at the very end of my life when I'm reviewing what are the really wonderful moments in my life.
Oh,
I got my wife, I got my daughter, I got my professional career. Todd's going to be right at the top of the list right there.
Thank you,
oh,
John.
that's nice.
Likewise.
That's really nice. Yeah.
Right. I mean, Kathy, there's a kind of tradition in jazz of people changing who they work with over time. Chick Corea, for example, recorded with so many bass players and so many drummers,
Yeah.
and I don't plan to work on any other saxophone players besides Todd for the rest of my life. That's my goal.
Wow. That's really nice. Has he told you that before?
Yeah.
In one way or another. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are some players for you who, if somebody said you can only work with one bass player for the rest of your life, you would know who that would be.
Hmm.
Oh, maybe not.
I'm thinking drummers, yes. Pianists. There's several that I'm really in love with. Um, Horn players, yes. Bass players. I mean, I have my favorites. I guess I could find one of each, right?
Yeah, different styles, different. You're right, exactly.
Yeah. What about the rest of your band, John? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, I mean, Murray, the way this band came about, it was born in Ohio when I was teaching at Ohio State, with different personnel, great players. But when I moved to Stanford, they didn't move to California, so I had to find new people.
Oh, I see.
And it was just a really hard nut to crack. I was going to gigs and I knew nobody, and I was trying to figure out how do I find my way into this scene. And I ran into I did I hosted a gig at Stanford where I needed to book a bass player and a pianist, and at least since I had some money to hire people, I had an excuse to talk to them. And Todd, I don't know if you know the story. Mark Levine, the piano player, was the guy who I hired to do that gig. Uh, and I think Peter Barchet was the bassist who ended
Oh,
up. And
yeah.
um, And so when I talked to Peter after the gig about, I've got this band and this is the kind of music we're doing, and I'd like to rebirth it here in the Bay Area, he said Murray Lowe is the guy. And then when I talked to Murray, Murray said Aaron Germain is the guy to play bass with us.
Oh,
And so again, this has been, 20 years that we've been here. And Murray and Aaron have been the core of the band since then too. So I'm not,
yeah.
changing things up much.
Is it, do you feel like, I mean, obviously, the more you play with people, right, the more comfortable it is, and the more they're reading you, you're reading them. But do you feel like, in a certain way, that it's always been the same? I mean, of course, every gig is different, but it always feels the same. It's always in the moment. I'm giving you in a certain way, you're giving me in a certain way.
Yeah, it's you're so right that there's a familiarity and a trust and a confidence that when I get on so I'll tell you a very fun thing that's going to happen this summer is I'm going to do a tour in California with two different guys, with Bill O'Connell, pianist from New York, and Lincoln Goines, the bassist from New York and Boston. And those guys were in Dave Valentine's band playing Latin jazz for a long time. They've worked a lot with Randy Brecker over the years and others. And we started to play together as a trio on the East Coast when I've gone to the East Coast for gigs on my own.
Uh-huh.
And so we finally set up a tour in August when they're going to be coming out here. And I love playing with them. We do Bill's material. Bill's got dozens of records out. He's just a tremendously talented pianist. And I wish I could tell you we're bringing the band down to LA, but there wasn't time in the schedule for that. But it sounds great, it feels great, but it's entirely different. When I start playing with those guys, I don't have that same comfort level that I have with the guys who I have worked with that you were describing. And so, it's a privilege to be on stage. But I think it's also important to acknowledge what I know you'll agree with, which is that when you work with people for long enough, you evolve as players. I'm playing differently, I hope better than I did 15 years ago. And I know they're playing better than they did 15 years ago. We're all growing. And so that gives it a freshness too. And, when you've done literally hundreds of gigs together, and this again, I won't surprise you when I say that every so often somebody plays something that surprises everybody else. And you're smiling when somebody does some clever thing that was not in their bag of tricks usually. And that it's almost like we owe it to each other to do that, to make the gigs fresh and interesting and surprising. If people are on autopilot and doing, their stock stuff after a few hundred gigs, it gets a little old. But luckily, we've changed. Everybody in the band is able to learn new stuff. And when when we're learning the Brecker stuff, and Todd was our music director with the whip that he cracked to make sure that we all played it properly. You give people charts and recordings, and they do their homework, and they show up, and it's efficient. It's not frustrating, and that I feel so grateful to have that from my colleagues.
Yeah. Todd, you want to say anything about that?
Uh, Cracking the whip, huh? I mean, no, it's been a great experience, and yes, everyone has done their homework, and it's true. No one has time to rehearse, so you have to do the homework on your own, or you're watch out.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys actually don't really rehearse?
Well, when we learned the stuff to start with, we did.
Yeah, yeah,
But the rehearsing then, as you know, is on the gigs. That when you're gigging enough, that
yeah,
every gig is another rehearsal.
yeah,
And that's just for the reason you said earlier when you said, you can be playing for three people in a room, and as long as those three people are enjoying it and you are kind of rehearsing through the material, it's a productive, fun 2 or 3 hours that you get paid for.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's so true. I mean, the reason I say that is for people listening, who may not be as experienced and think that people like you rehearse, and it's like, well, not necessarily, it's just good. It's good to let people know the reality of the whole thing. Um, this is kind of an odd question, but it just came up. So, if you were going to tell people some kind of not secret information like that, but something that you think people might not think about, for a band that sounds as good as yours, like what is there anything that you can think of that you would tell people like what we were just talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for me, it's so easy to look at our trajectory as a band. We're doing about 170, 180 concerts a year. We've toured around the world. You might think that that we would have a business plan, like any sensible organization, any
Right.
sensible economically driven organization would have a business plan. And in fact, the IRS, I'm willing to say publicly, audited my music life some years ago,
Me
and
too.
yeah, right, and one of the questions was, "What's your business plan?" Because if you don't have a
Oh,
business plan,
really?
we're not sure you're a business. And I didn't have a business plan. I mean, I was absolutely the opposite of that. And what I did was I just took everything one step at a time. Like whatever the natural thing was to do next, I did that. And then, so I'll just tell you the Randy Brecker story just so you can see how coincidental and unpredictable it was. So we made the record, we made the recording at the Baked Potato in LA.
Yeah.
We listened to it. We thought, okay, this is not horrible. We decided, okay, let's do a little mixing of it and see how much better it can sound. And then when it sounded, pretty mixed, I decided to share it with Peter Erskine, who's been a friend and mentor for us. And Peter said, "Oh, you should put this out on a record." So we kind of started down that pathway of looking for labels when I saw on Facebook that Randy announced he was leaving Facebook, that Facebook was actually shutting him down because he was impersonating a famous person named Randy Brecker. And he said, I showed them my passport, I showed them my driver's license, and they said, "Yeah, you don't look like that." And so they said, "We're shutting your account down, so you got 3 more
Oh,
days."
God.
So when I read this, I thought, I know somebody who works at Facebook. I wonder if I could fix this because, as you know, Facebook is the opposite of customer service. There's just, there's no phone number you can call.
Right.
You can barely figure out how to
Yeah.
do self-help. So happily, I knew this woman who was there, and I said, could I sent her a note and I said, this is what's happening. Is there any chance you could help? And little did I know, she worked with the group at Facebook that shut people down who were impersonating famous people. And so 2 hours later, it was fixed.
Oh, my
And
God.
so I'm luckily I don't know how I had, oh, I know how I had Randy's email address because a very close friend of mine had dated him a long time ago. And so I asked her for his email address. I sent him a note and I said, Randy, I think I might have fixed your Facebook problem. Did I? So he wrote back a charming note. He said, "Thank you so much. Yes, it looks like you fixed it. And I want to thank you. Please send me your address and I will send you some of my CDs to thank you." So I wrote back and I said, "Thank you very much. I really appreciate the offer, but I already own all your CDs. So how about this? How about if I send you a recording, a track that we recorded at the Baked Potato of your brother's music, and just tell me what you think?" And I don't know what I was thinking, but I think I was wanting to like not embarrass ourselves somehow. And when he listened to it, that happened to be the tune called African Skies that he had played with the Brecker brothers many, many times. And so he wrote this night, and I don't know if it's really true, but he said, "I'm playing along with it with my trumpet right now. It's so great." Um, and send me the rest of the record. And that's what led him to write the blurb.
Yeah.
But, I didn't like have a business plan where I said, reach out to Randy Brecker and solve his Facebook problem.
Yeah.
It just happens, and
Yeah.
when we said, when we were trying to think of, who should we do a special project about next, and I said I kind of like the idea of Mike Brecker. Who could that be? And Murray said Todd. It's just little baby steps
Yeah.
make these things happen.
Yeah.
So, I think people sometimes might guess that if you looked at the history of this organization, that it was much more thought out than it really was. It's just taking advantage of the opportunities you get. I don't know. What do you think,
Yeah.
John?
Sounds right. Yeah, I mean, you do seem like you have very in well-intentioned plans,
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm just rolling with the punches.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I'm always amazed.
Yeah.
Oh, see that? I might have introduced a new idea to Todd
Yeah.
about you.
Well, yeah. I become sensible once I become sensible. That's after that point.
Yeah.
But actually, of all the interviews that I've done, 90% of the people have at some point said it's just one foot in front of the other. You
Yeah.
just keep walking. David Amram, who was like the French horn player on all the bebop stuff, he went to hear Charlie Parker, and he was hanging out with him in the club, and Charlie Mingus came up, and Parker said, "You should use this guy on French horn." And Charlie Mingus said, "Oh, you want to come to Europe next week?" And that was, if he hadn't been there, that probably wouldn't have happened. So a lot of people say that, and which is, to me, I think that is one of the major sub qualities of jazz that is transferable to life, which is, a big thing for me. And, and that is moving forward, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of see the path, but you don't know exactly what's on it. You're not planning it, but you're moving into it with full awareness. So, I mean, what's not there to like about applying that to life,
Yeah. Well, I think the problem for jazz, unfortunately, is so different from so many other careers that, if I, as a professor and a researcher, if I just do my work and I publish my work, opportunities come to me. And in jazz, it's just not like that. There's just so many great players, and you can practice all day long at home, but opportunities are, for the most part, not going to come to you until you get yourself out there, and it becomes this chicken and egg problem that it'll come to you after you're famous. Well, how do you get famous? You got,
Yeah,
and the problem is that so many wonderfully talented artists don't have the patience or the instinct to do the business side of it. And if they can't find joy in that too, it's going to
yeah,
be really hard. And for me personally, I will confess to you that among the best dopamine moments of my jazz life in recent decades are the moments when I book a gig. When somebody says, "We want you," and we sign the contract, that makes me so happy because I know the happiness that other people are going to get from that. And so it doesn't, I don't have to, it's not like the end of the solo and the audience is applauding and that's the only moment. I really do. I get it. And I think it's addicting, which is a little dangerous, but
I agree. Actually, I do a lot of work. Some of my friends say I'm a workaholic. I don't feel like that. I like the work I do. I like sitting in front of the computer and, doing the PR and, okay, yeah, sometimes I get tired. So I take a break, But if you don't enjoy the process, you're kind of screwed because you're just looking for satisfaction in one area. And that's not really how life is. You really have to balance, So I agree with you on that. Yeah.
and having, there are different ways of balancing because Todd has these amazing talents as a mixing engineer and doing video. I mean, he has brought so much to this band without, it hasn't, I don't think you've booked any gigs for us, but I think,
We've gotten a few, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. But the technical skills that you have, not to mention he advises me how to, fix my deck, but that other than that, that it's really it takes a village of skills from different people,
Yeah.
and that's really important. And so, one example is Murray Lowe, our pianist, his social network, just him being himself and having so many friends and so many people who like him, that was a huge thing for this band. He just had to live, and he was helping us. And so, in those ways, everybody brings something to the table in a way that makes it better.
Yeah. Yeah. John, who were some of your jazz drummer heroes?
Oh, it's, that's easy. So for me, I started with Erskine, and Erskine was doing Kenton at the time, and then Maynard Ferguson, and then Weather Report. So that style of jazz was important to me. But then, you can't do that without thinking about Steve Gadd and without thinking about Dave Weckl and other guys in that tradition. And I heard Weckl when he was very young at McKell's in New York, playing with Michel Camilo, for example, when nobody heard of him. And Dave was a different player then. One of the best versions of himself, I would say, at that time. And I don't know how many people, other than drummers would know this, but he went through a period of reinventing himself, of sort of stopping playing and rearranging the drums physically and finding a more flowing way to play later in his career. But in those early days, he was really wonderful, and that as wonderful as well. And that so those kind of guys were important to me. But everybody at some level, when you listen to music that's swinging, the drummer's left hand, that comping of playing, you have to study Philly Joe Jones in order to be able to do that, and Harold Jones, and so like kind of everybody.
Elvin Jones,
It's Elvin Jones, right? Well, right.
Jones, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I fell in love with certain people who I love to listen to live, but then they were saying you got to go back and study the tradition, and so.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenny Washington, there are just so many great players, and everybody's inspiring at some level to me. So, so I mean, I think I have some of the most flattering moments for me have been when somebody comes up to me after a gig and said, "You sounded a lot like Peter Erskine." I thought, "Oh, okay, good. Something's working here."
There's a drummer in town. I don't know if you know him, Mark Ferber.
Sure.
He's like one of my favorites because he's never really about himself. He's totally like a composer, contributor in there, really. And talking about flowing, his technique is absolutely gorgeous to watch. And he's a hell of a nice guy, too. Yeah.
And I will tell you that drummers who are tall get like Marcus get a little bit of an advantage there because their long arms allow them to do. I used to think back in the old days when Dennis Chambers was twirling sticks, I thought this was just stupid. I mean, it was just not like, because coming from the classical tradition that I came from, we were taught to be as economical as possible. You don't waste any movement that doesn't contribute to the sound. And eventually I kind of woke up to the reality that twirling sticks is a great thing because this is about the audience. And if they love it, you do it, And it's the same thing for, players like Mark, that I think the ballet that they're able to do. And we do get, our group does get that comment. We played last Saturday and somebody came up and said, I can't tell you what I enjoy more, listening to you or watching you. Because we are looking a lot at each other, we're smiling, and there's a kind of intensity that is the opposite of the worn out journeyman sideman who's doing Autumn Leaves for the 5,000th time.
Which unfortunately a lot of people have fallen into the habit of playing like that. Yeah, it's like I turn around and look at somebody and they're just like, whatever. Yeah, I mean, even if they're playing well, it's just, it's kind of a lack of communication, Yeah.
Or awareness that that's part of what, that they are there for the audience and that that's part of what they owe the audience in a way, as mindless as it might be what they're doing. And so I do feel like if I was bored playing, it would be hard to pretend that I wasn't. So you kind of have to make the music interesting in order to engage yourself, and then you're smiling or grimacing or whatever you're doing while you're.
There's so many different layers of that. One time I interviewed, I can't remember who it was, but it was a musician who played with a very well-known, large, I think it was a rock group, that had hits. It's the kind of group that if you play with them, the audience is singing with you. Exactly. Which to me would totally screw with my head. But anyway, he actually really appreciated that. for what it was, which was his job was to play great and to connect with all these thousands of people in the audience, and which they did. And it actually gave me a different perspective on that. It was really nice. I could understand that, because normally I just think, wow, that must just kill you to play the same song over and over and over and over and over again,
Yeah, you're trapped by your hits.
Yeah.
And I assume what you were referring to was partly it would drive you to crazy to have to keep playing the hits every night. But the other thing is that when the audience is singing along, they're not always right in time with you. And then you've got to deal with this big choir that's mostly in tune, but not necessarily, and all that. But, the alternative to that is, that for years, you probably know, Chick Corea would routinely do this thing where he, toward the end of the show, he would get the audience to become a choir. He would play licks, and then they would sing them back to him.
Yeah.
And I was stunned at how good people were at singing back what he played.
You know who does that? I just saw him at Disney Hall a few months ago. What's his name? He's that young, brilliant guy. He plays everything. Yeah. The whole of Disney Hall.
Yeah.
He got sing, and everybody sounded great.
Yeah, exactly.
What? I was like, what? I mean, are they all musicians? Or, I mean, there's thousands of people in there. Yeah, that's really amazing. And, so, yep. Yeah, I saw Chick do that a lot. He was such a special human.
Yeah. Did you see the thing also where he would bring a pianist down from the audience?
No. Oh, Jacob?
No. Chick would just say to the audience, is there anybody who's a pianist here who would like to come down and sit with me? And you might think this was fake. Like this had to have been planned out in advance, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And, and I don't understand how these guys were so brave, but they would like put their hand up and then he would say, okay, come on down. And then they would down the theater and they would sit down and Chick would play something and they're sitting next to each other at one piano. They would play something, he would play something, and it boom, and it just went. And I think if I were him, I don't know if I could have had the confidence that whoever came down would be acceptable, would be workable. But every time I heard it, they were great. And I actually talked to one of these guys afterwards, and I said, so this was planned, right? And he said, no, I mean, I didn't even know this was going to happen, but, I gave it a shot.
Well, Bobby McFerrin, he's very famous for doing that. I once actually sang with them on stage, but in that situation. But yeah, again, it's like, what are you going to do with this? It's not just this. It's what are you going to do with it, right? So, yeah. And again, beautiful life application, right? Life is going to be full of horrible, stupid, dumb things that happen. But that's not the point. It's how are you going to move forward, right? So, I mean, I could go on and on. I even wrote a book during the pandemic about this kind of stuff, as far as jazz, vocal technique, and life having the same lessons. And it's always been fascinating to me. I see a student before me and they exactly what they're having problems with, it's their life problem too. Because it's a perspective, right? Everything that comes out is related to your perspective. So, yeah.
So how do we buy that book?
I don't know if it's still available, but you could get it. I think you could hook up on my website and I can send you an electronic copy. Yeah, it's called, what is it called? I always forget what it's called. It's being something. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. The Act of Becoming.
Oh, look at that. It's a book.
It's a book. It's actually a little book, yeah. Anyway, it was stuff that I had collected over the years, and I always kind of thought, I'm going to put that down sometime. And then, of course, the pandemic, you were looking for things to do, right?
That's great.
Well, we're coming kind of to the end here, and it's been 2 hours, which people always are shocked that it's 2 hours. And anyway, oh, you did, Joyce? Sorry, my friend Joyce said she sang also with him on stage. Yeah, he was, God, He's been such an influence, and him and Chick. Have you heard their record together? It's just the duo, and
I heard that record. I heard them live. I heard Bobby conduct the Cleveland Symphony when Chick was playing piano as a concerto. Yeah, absolutely
oh,
incredible.
also a video live video with him in the Yellow Jackets. Stunning record,
Absolutely,
stunning
absolutely.
live video. Yeah. Anyway, so just once again, these guys are coming with their band Charged Particles on May 13th, uh, which is a Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Wednesday to the club that I've been booking, Birds of a Feather Jazz Lounge in downtown LA. So May 13th, guys, it's not too far away. Now is probably the time to buy tickets. And yeah, and I wish I was going to be there, but that is the day I will be on a plane to Japan. So I cannot be there.
Mm.
So
Heart's
I'm really
broken.
sorry.
Next time. Next time.
Yeah, okay. I hope it's really good. So there will be a next time. Thanks for being on. Thanks for talking, and it
Thank
was
you.
really
Thank you.
it was a pleasure.
Yeah, it's really fun. And we're happy to intersect with you, and hopefully someday soon we'll intersect musically as well as conversationally.
That would be really nice.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing what you're doing. Keep doing it. It's important for the music.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to invite you to sign off, and because I'm going to blab just a little bit about what's coming, and you may not want to hang out for that. So thank you, guys. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon, we hope.
Appreciate it.
Bye. Thank you. And so I'm going to blab a little bit about this week at Birds of a Feather Jazz Lounge in downtown LA. So let's see. Tonight we have a great pianist, Michael Raganese, and with Anthony Fung on drums and Luca Alamano on bass. When I say this is a great trio, I'm not kidding. This is a great trio. If you're around, you will not want to miss this, in all seriousness. So that's tonight, Friday, May 1st, at birdsofafeatherjazzlounge.com. Tomorrow night, almost sold out, which it usually does, is a musician who has kind of a reoccurring gig there, Nolan Shahid, the trumpet player. Nolan always has a great band, slamming band, kind of straight ahead stuff mostly, and he's a trumpet player, and he's quite the entertaining performer. He's funny, he's great. It's always packed. It's always sold out. So it's getting close to getting sold out. So if you're around and you want Saturday night, come to Birds of a Feather. And then Sunday, May 3rd, is a beautiful and dramatic singer, jazz singer named Sharon Marie Klein. She's a lovely person, and she is she's going to be there Sunday evening. We don't always have Sunday evenings. Sometimes we have Sunday Sunday brunches. And then next Monday for the Noontime Hang, it's probably going to be an hour, but there's a man named Rob Bayless. And he is, I believe he's like the executive director for the Broad Performing Center in Santa Monica. The Broad has a museum in downtown LA, but it also has this performance complex down in Santa Monica. It's really beautiful. And he's going to be talking about the Santa Monica International Jazz Festival. So that's next Monday at 12. He's the artistic and executive director of the Broad Stage. So that is that part. Also, if you're in LA, every Saturday I perform in Santa Monica early, 9:30 to 1, early 9:30 a.m. with Dori Amarillo on guitar and either a bass player, percussionist. This Saturday we have the wonderful bass player Adam Cohen. And it's great. It's on 2nd and Broadway. It's called the Brightside Cafe Kitchen, Brightside Kitchen. Sorry, it came from a different name. I've been there a year, actually, and over a year. And it's really nice. It's sunny. It's like you can actually see the beach from the window. No cover, great food, breakfast and lunch. Just come on down and hang out and then walk over to the beach. It's really nice every Saturday. Okay, so I think that's about it. I have one more week here, and then I'm going to be going to Japan. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss Charged Particles. I would have loved to have been there on May 13th. But for those of you listening from Japan, I will be in Hiroshima, Osaka, and Tokyo over the spread of 2 weeks in Japan, and I'll be coming back on my birthday, May 28th. So you guys, thank you for being here. Thanks to Jon Krosnick and Tod Dickow. Yeah, he has an unusual name. And have a great day, and I hope I'll see you later at the